backyard.
Hey everybody! Back here at Coronavirus Central here, and I'm in Cary, North Carolina, just outside Raleigh, North Carolina. And I've sort of been enjoying the last couple weeks. I won't say I've been enjoying the last couple weeks. That's not true at all. One of the things I've been enjoying the last couple weeks is getting to hang out with you guys and bring you some friends of mine that just do a lot of cool stuff. It turns out I got a lot of really cool friends. Um, and we've talked to a couple of my Beaumont friends. We've talked to Todd Howard, who's with Granger Smith, and we talked to John Calderon, who was out with Al Jarreau. We're going to bring you my friend David Varnado right now, who's been out with Chris Ledoux and Loretta Lynn and Johnny Paycheck and Neal McCoy and like half the people on the planet. So he right now he is in Beaumont, Texas. Here he is. Here's David Varnado.
Hey, welcome to the Museum of the Gulf Coast here in Port Arthur, Texas.
Yeah, he's at the Museum of the Gulf Coast where he's currently inducted, right?
Yes, sir. I got inducted here a couple of years ago. One of the biggest honors of my life right here.
So I guess maybe back up a little bit and give us a little feedback on how you got started playing the fiddle.
Well, I started learning how to play the fiddle when I was about 4 years old. My dad was a road musician and got off the road many years. And my dad taught me how to play. One day I grabbed the fiddle from him and asked him to show me how to play a song. By this time, I'd reached the age of 5 years old. And it turns out that I asked him to show me how to play a song. And that song was a Cajun song called Jo-el Blonde, Pretty Blonde. And started learning from him from there and started actually, I guess you would say, moving on to further things, and as far as advancing myself where he couldn't show me anything else. So I moved on to a guy by the name of Rufus Thibodeau when I was about 12 years old. So that's pretty much as quick as I can go through it without being here for 2 hours. But this instrument has been my first love, and it's my best friend, and it's told a great story through my whole life, and I can't thank God enough for giving me the gift.
Yeah, so when did you start playing in bars and stuff? I assume you started playing with some bands and stuff around?
Yeah, I started playing in clubs when I was about 13 years old, from here in Southeast Texas all the way to West Texas, and then out to South Louisiana. My dad, of course, I wasn't old enough to drive, but my dad was bringing me around in the family vehicle. As much as I wanted to learn, he was definitely willing to put me out to the public.
Yeah, so were you doing clubs or were you doing like bluegrass festivals and all that kind of stuff?
No, mostly beer joints.
Okay.
That's why I was playing in clubs. Now, it wasn't the clubs that had the chicken wires on it or anything, but it was definitely some beer joints, and that's where I got my schooling at. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, so talk about some of the lessons that you learned musically in those places. Where did, as a kid starts playing in a beer joint at 13, 14 years old, you're learning a lot of stuff, but, musically, what are you picking up in those?
I'll be honest with you. I was always the youngest person in a band, always. Being 12, 13 years old, there was always older people with me. And I learned to surround myself, being in that age, to always hang around better players and learning my scales on my fiddle, learning the number system, and basically, I guess, just trying to surround myself with great players that could show me something. And I was always one to learn. I was always asking questions. And I know some of these older guys say, golly, this guy's really getting on my nerves. He's always asking me these questions. But later on in life, they realized it was for good reason. Nobody was really not willing to help me. And again, I just surrounded myself with better pickers, and that's how it's made me to be. I'm hoping that somebody thinks it paid off to for them to realize and feel like that I am a good player. I hope I am.
Yeah, cool. So you learned how to play fiddle. Do you also pick up guitar and mandolin and all that too?
Yeah, I self-taught myself how to play mandolin because it's pretty close to playing the fiddle.
Hmm.
When I was about 8 years old, I started taking guitar lessons from my dad. My dad was like I say, I was a house picker, and moved on from there. And I took some guitar lessons in school, and that's really about it. Just tried. I tried. I didn't really realize how much it was going to be in a mainstream necessity, being a utility player, because I was just wanting to learn. That's all I wanted to do was figure out other instruments. And I know my dad always told me you need to be good at one instrument before you move on to the other, and I did that. And it's really helped me in the Nashville scene to be a utility player, very much so. And it's played a big role in helping me get some big jobs with some big artists.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. Really in any band that I've played in, it's hey, you play fiddle, but that's great. What else can you do? Because not necessarily every song needs fiddle in it.
Well, not today. Years ago, when you got hired to play fiddle, and I've been in those bands before with artists, Johnny Paycheck. He just wanted to hire a fiddle player. Working for Loretta Lynn, so he just wanted to hire a fiddle player. But today, there's not fiddle on every single song, and really and truly, it's helped play a major role in helping me get a job with somebody.
For sure. Yeah, so talk about the journey maybe from being like a 13-year-old kid riding around with your parents playing some beer joints in Texas. How do you then get on the road and end up in a bus and end up on the Grand Ole Opry stage? What was that journey like?
Well, it was a great journey, and I hope it never ends. I hope to go back to the Grand Ole Opry because that's one of the most sacred mother places that I've ever played. Um, Getting involved in the Cajun music has really helped me progress over into the country music. I know you're going to know this guy. Um, Two guys. Rufus Thibodeau was the one that brought me to Nashville when I was about 15 years old, and just to kind of show me what it was about. But the next guy that really kind of put me on nationwide TV with him was Jo-el Sonnier. I know you know who
Yeah,
Jo-el is.
absolutely.
Jo-el put me on a big stream mainstream market, and he's really the one that gave me my break in the Nashville scene. And yeah, I remember we played the Port Arthur Mardi Gras. I'm sure you know. You used to live around here, I
Yep,
know.
absolutely. I played Port Arthur Mardi Gras.
Well, the Port Arthur Mardi Gras a little over 20 years ago, or more than that. um, Jo-el invited me to play a mainstream show with him here on the big stage. And he asked me, he said, I'm going to say it was a Ralph Emery show. He said, look, I'm heading back to Nashville, and if you want to come do the Ralph Emery show with me, I need you to come spend a couple of days and go over some things with you on what I want you to play behind me on nationwide TV. And I'll be honest with you, from there, my career took off. And I owe a lot to Jo-el Sonnier. And I wouldn't say I moved on to bigger and better things because he was huge back then. And I owe a lot to Jo-el Sonnier, a lot. And it helped me get other jobs with other people. After a while, his career started kind of declining, and I jumped on with a guy by the name of Ty England who used to play for Garth Brooks.
Yep.
So to answer your question, it's been a crazy, wild ride. And I don't think I really stopped to soak any of it in. I was moving so fast, and I hope this doesn't sound arrogant because my folks never wanted me to talk this way, but it's helped me push my career. I'm thankful for Jo-el Sonnier. I'm thankful for all the other ones that's given me a chance. But Jo-el actually laid the ground seed for me.
Well, there's been a long history of a pipeline from Beaumont to Nashville, right? I mean,
Oh yeah,
that's one of the things being in Beaumont. I moved there in probably 95, 96, and
yeah,
just started hanging around with a lot of the cats around there and learning from those guys. But there's been so many guys come from Beaumont to Nashville and back and forth. They ought to just put in a highway between them two towns.
yeah. They should. There's so many from here. I know I'm going to miss some, but the ones I can think of off the top of my head would be George Jones is from right here, Saratoga, Texas, and and moved to Beaumont and lived in Vidor for many years. The Big Bopper,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you know who the Big Bopper was killed in a plane crash with Patsy Cline. Oh, was it Patsy? Uh, Buddy Holly.
Yeah, and Richie Valens. Yep.
It's Buddy Holly and Richie Valens. Um, Mark Chestnut's from here. Billy Joe Spears is from here. Uh, God, I know I'm leaving out some names. Tex Ritter behind me is from here.
Yeah, Janis
Mark,
Joplin.
Janis Joplin, definitely. She's got a big exhibit here.
Yep. Tracy and Clay Walker and all them guys.
ZZ Top as well.
Yeah, total
John,
pipeline from Beaumont sort of to the music scene. I don't know what's in the water there, but it just seems like so much music talent has come out of that little town.
there's a lot of music talent that's come out of here, and I know there's going to be some more that's going to be coming in behind me, but uh, definitely there's something in the water here. There's a lot of music here. There's been a lot of music here for many years. There's been several songwriters from here. Don Rollins is one of them who wrote "Rock Somewhere" for Alan Jackson.
Yeah, Don's a fantastic sax player too, and guitar player, songwriter, all that.
Great musician and a good guy.
Yep, for sure. So, and yeah, and you can go see Britt and Bubba, and you can go see all these guys playing old time country music, um, pretty much every week in Beaumont, and it's always been surprising to me where people talk about, well, country music has changed or it's done this and that. I feel like a lot of that old school country music is still alive and well in a lot of places.
Well, the sad thing about it is you have to kind of look for it, but it's if you want it, you're gonna have to get in your vehicle and search for it, or get on YouTube and search for it. Yeah, um, I'm not saying the stuff coming out of Nashville is bad. It's not country music. I don't think it ought to be toe tagged as country music. But I've heard Reba say this as well as George Jones. And Merle Haggard said it. You can't argue with success. So if it's making money and you're successful at it, what can you say about it? You can't do nothing but go with it.
Sure. Yeah, so the you got a chance to play with Jo-el Sonnier and meet some folks in Nashville, I guess. What was the first big tour that you went on after playing with him?
After playing with him would be, I would say, Ty England, who used to play for Garth Brooks. He had just left Garth, and we were playing to 4,000 and 5,000 seaters for a guy that just left Garth Brooks, a newcomer, to have those kind of seats and major sales. That's almost unheard of. Um, Being with him, I was on the Jay Leno show.
Mm.
Being with Ty, I was also on Conan O'Brien. So that was probably one of the bigger things that I progressed to from there, and then I went to work for now Ty's career kind of started fading away. The guy just had a hard time getting radio play, and it's sad to say that, but they really wouldn't give him a big chance. He had I think Should Have Asked Her Faster went to I think it went to number 2, which is way above To Keep a Bus Rolling.
Oh, for sure.
But I, I I hated to see that gig end. I really did. And then from there, I went on to work for Johnny Paycheck. I left Ty and went to work for Johnny Paycheck. He was looking for a fiddle player, and I got the gig.
Well, talking
And
about Ty again and going back to radio play, it's talk about the role that the radio stations play in determining who's going to be a star and how all that works.
Well, let me say this to you. Let me tell you one of the main reasons why I was told they wouldn't give Ty a chance, because they felt like, this guy's already been with Garth Brooks. We feel like he's really made it. He's been playing to 100,000 seaters or more, and the word was they wanted to give somebody else that didn't have as much chance as he did, and they passed him. They passed Ty up and would rather play someone else. And it's sad to say that, but radio radio is everything to an artist. You're only as good as your last hit. You're going to get your only draw from an audience as your last hit. And I know today, I mean, you can keep running for several years, but we got more social media. We've got YouTube to keep your music in front of people's face. But if you don't have a current single out, it's rough to stay working for 20 years. You're going to fade out somewheres. And that's the true story. They just seemed like they wouldn't give Ty a chance, and it's a shame because he had a great show. He was a great boss to work with, and it just took its end.
So then you jumped off of that tour and onto Johnny Paycheck, who
Yes.
was obviously a huge star and had been for many, many years already.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. I had just got to work with John. John had, you know, Paycheck, and he'll tell you, um, he had a big downfalls, major downfalls. But when I got with John, he had been cleaned up for about 13 years. So it was some of the most excitingest times for me because I followed his career, and man, he was a side guy for several years for George Jones and also for um, uh, uh, Ray Price, Fair and Young. The guy was a legend, and I knew his music, and I wanted to be there because he had traditional country music and he had fiddle all over everything that he played. And you talk about the Grand Ole Opry. I was there when he was asked to be a member, and that was with Steve Wariner and Johnny Russell.
Mm.
Then when he was inducted in 1997, I was there on stage and got to witness every bit of it. And I was absolutely so excited to be working with a Grand Ole Opry member. And I miss those days. I miss the days where I had a bunch of fiddle kickoffs and backing up one of my heroes who's been around the world, and I miss John. John and I were very, very close. Uh, we've had a lot of visits on the bus together, just him and I. I've gotten to hear so many great stories that no one's ever heard of. No one. And I hope to get to tell them on some other TV shows. I've heard so many stories, some great stories about him and George Jones. So many stories about George Jones, him and Ray Price and Fair and Young. I'll tell you one of the stories when he was trying to get in the business and had no gig. Now, get this, John was a steel guitar player and a bass player, but he went to Grandpa Jones and said, I need a job in the worst way. Can you help me out? Now, can you imagine a banjo player playing finger style, hammer style banjo music, pretty much almost definitely bluegrass? And I heard Paycheck say, now I got a job with him playing steel guitar. Now he needed a steel guitar like he needed a hole in the head. So that's one of the great stories that no one knows about.
That's very cool. So how long were you with Johnny Paycheck?
I was with Paycheck almost 5 years.
Now, is
One of
that
the
pretty
biggest.
much constant touring? I know a lot of artists today, it's tour for a while and then be home for a while and then tour for a while. Were you guys pretty much road dogging it, or was it in spurts?
We were road dogging it. We nonstop, nonstop. I remember us several of the times of the years that I worked with John. We had to get new tires put on the bus every couple of years. We were running, majorly running.
Yeah, so how many shows a year would that be?
Um, I guess with John, probably about 120, 130. Now, the most that I've been gone away from home was with Ty England. We did 200, about 250 shows out. I'd say it was probably about 200 shows, and I would say add 50 more days on that with days travel time and
Sure.
days off with not coming home.
Yeah, if you're on a 4 day swing and it's three shows in that time, you're still away from home during that time.
You're you're away from home. Now there was some guys that would fly home, but I never did. Sometimes we'd have 4 days off, and I didn't want to spend the money to go all the way home and then come all the way back. You're looking for trouble. You're looking for trouble. Why? Uh, delays, can't get back to the bus. I just I just didn't want to take that chance at all.
Now, so did you have a family when you were touring like this, or you're a single guy?
I was single at this time, um, just staying at home and working the road and just wanted to play music.
Yeah, I mean, when you're single, you got to stay somewhere. Might as well stay on the bus.
I stayed on the bus, and then I made good friends with several of the musicians that I worked with, and they were nice enough to have me grab a couch or like I say, I really didn't have much time downtime to be in Nashville anyway. We were like you say, we were running and gunning. Our home was on the bus.
Hmm. So, were you seeing sort of a similar style in fiddle playing from one band to the other? Or were you having to sort of switch it up?
Switch it up pretty much. And luckily I've studied all kind of music where I could do that. Uh, Paycheck, he liked my fiddle playing, but there's a guy by the name of Tommy Jackson who Paycheck worked with, and he had Ray Price used him on all of his stuff, and he really wanted those main chops. He said, "Man, just get my signature licks from Tommy, and then take it from there." But that's pretty much what I studied. And I'll tell you another thing. I hope I'm not jumping the gun on you, but uh, not only was Rufus Thibodeau a fiddle teacher of mine, but I know you're going to know this name. So was a guy by the name of Johnny Gimble, one of the
Mm.
greatest Western fiddle players to ever live or walk the face of this earth.
Yeah, five
And
string player.
I copied a lot of his stuff with with playing for Paycheck and Loretta, and I still use it today. I'd go to his fiddle camps as much as my dad would bring me, and go to their house, Mr. Gimble's house, when he would have me over. Uh, I could. I'm not much of a bluegrass fiddle player. I'm not much of a hoedown fiddle player. I've always felt my place in working behind an artist was to make that person shine. So I wanted to copy as much as I could get and soak in as much as I could get from Rufus Thibodeau and Johnny Gimble. And also, there's another guy here that he wasn't my fiddle teacher, but I idolized his fiddle playing, and his name was Fiddle and Frenchy Burke. I'm sure you've heard of
Mm.
Frenchy.
Yeah, awesome. So, what have you seen as far as, I mean, you were touring for quite a long time between Loretta and Johnny Paycheck and Neal McCoy and Chris Ledoux, all those guys. What were some of the big changes that you saw in the business over that time?
Everything going. I'll be honest with you. I started seeing the. You mean the changes in the music that was being taken place out of Nashville? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, the music and the shows and the business and just how everything was working.
Well, um, I started seeing things change when I was working about the last 2 years working for Johnny Paycheck. Um, I could start seeing the music going towards more pop. And Paycheck told me, he said, "You better get your ducks in a row because this is probably going to last for quite a while." As far as sales, I think the sales has never hurt as far as the music business. And again, I'm getting back. I'm just a player, but I just wish the music would get back to somewhat of the traditional country music. That's the biggest thing that's been my problem. It's put me out. It's put me out of work, and I've counted the years. This is going on 18 years that this pop rock stuff has been going on. Now, I want to say, I'm not saying it's bad music again. I'm not saying that at all. I just don't think it needs to be toe tagged as country music. You watch the CMAs or the ACMs, you watch them in the last 8, 9 years, 10 years, there's not a fiddle on it, man. There's not a steel guitar on it. And I'm not the only one. But when you got this here trying to feed your family today, and you can't really get a gig with a Nashville artist anymore, it hurts, man. It's hit me in my front door. It's on my front porch, and I see it every day. And I wish those guys somewhere in Nashville would would let it back in. But you got your big money people that comes in, talking about the business. You got your big money people coming in, and these guys coming in from wherever they're coming from, overseas or wherever in the United States, that they're moving to Nashville. These big producers, they don't they don't know about fiddles. They don't know anything about them. They don't know about steel guitars, and it's the truth. I don't want to get on here and be a complainer, but when it's when it's your livelihood and your income, and you feel like you've been in Nashville since you were a kid, and I really feel like that was my town, and I feel like a lot of us got shoved out, and I think there's room for both of us if they just allow traditional country music to be a part of Nashville again and be a part of radio. There is a spot for both of us if somebody would allow that to happen. I don't know who that's going to be. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing a little bit of a resurgence in that with guys like Chris Stapleton and some of these guys that are starting to record some more stuff. Who's the Luke Combs is a guy here from North Carolina who's doing some pretty traditional stuff, and
I
we're
like
starting to
Luke.
see that. Even some of the new guys, Kane Brown, his fiddle player Lars Thorson's a friend of mine. Kane Brown is one of those new country sort of hip hop slash rock slash country guys, but he's got a fiddle player out on the stage, and I think we're seeing a little bit of a resurgence of that. Probably not like it was in old days where every band had a fiddle player, and sometimes more than one, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know the guy you're talking about. Hey, if I don't care if they want to have something that looks cosmetically and playing just a little bit of fiddle here and a little bit of fiddle there, man, if they've got fiddle, that does all of us a world of good. I commend anybody that's going to do that, to put a fiddle in your band. And I've always been versatile. I know you're a versatile fiddle player, and you're a great fiddle player, Matt. I've watched everything about you and studied your videos. Dude, you've got it going on. Really, you do.
Oh, thank you, man.
And I didn't, when I was learning to play as a kid, I didn't want to just put myself in a position of just being a country fiddle player. You wouldn't think this coming from me, but one of my favorite groups is Motley Crue and Metallica. I'm a big Eddie Van Halen fan, and I sat in my bedroom with vinyl, copying as much licks off of those guitar players as I could because I knew that I just didn't want to be a regular country fiddle player. And yeah, if these guys can put a fiddle player in their band I don't care if it's with fuzz guitars and screaming guitars, and if you got a fiddle in your band, please do that. That makes all of us look good.
Yeah, in the sort of the Western swing thing that was big for a long time, you'd actually see multiple fiddle players, right? So a lot of the
Yeah,
twin fiddle stuff.
twin fiddles, sometimes three fiddles, sometimes four fiddles.
So you've invented a machine to sort of simulate some of that, right?
Yeah, I did. I invented this machine back in 1989. And I'll be honest with you, Matt, it wasn't but about maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago that I let the cat out of the bag. I can't tell you times that I'd be playing, and I've had some of these people, almost bombard me and wanting to look at my rack. And man, what are you running? What is that? And man, I'd pack up my machine as fast as I could get it and bring it to the bus or bring it to my truck where nobody would see it because I didn't want anybody else finding out what I had. I've got a patent on it and the whole bit. I gutted a uh, uh, this machine out, and I was pretty good with electronics when I was in high school. And I I love harmony. I know what harmonies I want to hear, and I put this machine together, and I probably broke about four or five of them, burning something up here and crossing wires that I shouldn't have crossed. But I feel like I've got it mastered, and I've got a lot of people that's really interested in the machine. If I can keep talking, I'll tell you. Uh, there's there's several pedal companies that have, since I put this thing on YouTube and on Facebook, we're demonstrating
Hmm.
this. They are they're wanting they're wanting to to get the machine from you, but man, I can't give away. 30 years or more of my life for just a little bit of money that they want, because they're gonna make a lot of money off of this, a lot of money. And I've told them what I want a percentage on it. I still want to keep my rights to it in case the company goes belly up, and they don't want to do it. So I'm not settling for less. I'm not going to do it. I got a whole lifetime in this thing, and I just put lead guitar parts into this machine, and I know it's going to be more favorable to a lot of guitar players than there will be fiddle players, because I mean, this is a hard instrument. We don't have a whole lot of fiddle players coming up in the younger age. We do, but I think it's going to actually be more in demand for a lot of guitar players.
I do want to talk about your fiddle a little bit too. You're one of the guys that I cite. I work at an electric violin shop in Durham, North Carolina. We're one of the biggest retailers in the world for amplified fiddles. And you're one of the guys that I point to when people say all the time, well, I'm having problems with my fiddle feeding back on stage. Because the thing is, a violin, the back of that thing is really just a big microphone diaphragm, really. And you start getting on these loud stages and, you know, they start howling and woofing on you and taking off. And I guess you were one of the early guys to start throwing some tape over the F-holes, right?
Yep. Right here. I'll tell you where I got this from. I got this idea from Rufus Thibodeau. I was, when we were playing twin fiddles together, I was having problems with feedback. Now, let's compare this to go, you know, what is he talking about tape? What's the reason for that? Well, I know you'll know what I'm talking about. These acoustic guitars, open hole acoustic guitars, what do they have on it? They have a feedback buster.
Yep, they put a piece of rubber in that hole to stop it from feeding back.
Yeah, it keeps it all self-contained, where there's no roar, no feedback, no overtones, and that's exactly what this is right here. It's and what I have on it is electrical tape. It actually sticks a little bit better.
Okay.
And I have put one layer of electrical tape over the F-holes, and I still got a little bit of feedback. So what I've been doing for the last several years is I've been just putting one roll of tape and then doubling it up and put another roll, and it really seals it off. Now I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of musicians I know that frown on putting the electrical tape because it does pull a little bit of the varnish off. But I do try to keep it in the same spot so it doesn't spread. But this actually really and truly, it does work. Now, some people have put sponge in there, and I've tried the sponge, but you still get the feedback.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the best. And I still say the electrical tape works the best.
So what's it do to the acoustic sound? You got a bow with you there? Can you play for us for a second? Can we hear it?
Yeah. You only want to hear just the fiddle?
Sure.
Let me know if you can hear this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not real loud. I think with the tape on there, it kills the acoustic sound quite a bit.
Yeah, is that too loud in volume? Or are you okay?
Man, you ain't never gonna be too loud for me. I'm old rock and roller.
All right. Would you like me to demonstrate this harmonizer for you?
Yeah, man. Why don't you play for us a little bit?
All right. I'm going to be in the key of G. See what I'll do. I'll just do something in the key of G. This is actually a second above. Let me explain something to you a minute about this. I've got up to 12 pieces of harmony in this machine. Now, I can run anywhere from 2 pieces to 3 pieces, up to 5 pieces, on up to, like I said, 12 pieces. Or I've got this machine where if I'm playing with 2 other pickers and they're wanting to do any other harmony part with me, I can deduct any part that they're doing to stay out of their way, and I can play the first part, or you can play the first part for me, and I can do the 5th above or the 5th below. If I've got 1 guy or 2 guys with me, that's what I can get done, and it is absolutely completely full. Now, what's different? Somebody will ask me, what's different about your machine than the other ones that I hear? Well, I'm not going to go into how I built it, but this is real recorded fiddles. The problems with the other machines that are out there, the tracking, I know you know this, the tracking is a millisecond off. You start doing a burn I'm saying doing a real fast scale roll or anything on a lead that you want to, burn out, the other one's just going to be a millisecond delay and it can't keep up with what you're doing. It's not even going to be in time with the band. You better have your name. You better have your game together if you're going to do that. But let me do something on a slow performance here, and you can kind of see.
That's nice.
That's let me see. That's playing the first part, second above, and that's a fifth below. You can hear that really bottom. Like on some, maybe some of the Cajun stuff, the rhythming. Now you can do some double stops with this, not every time, because you start doing the double stops with it, starts getting into the other harmony parts. It's not gonna understand what's going on. But you have to single a lot of the stuff out.
That's nice.
It definitely keeps up. Now that is Matt, if I may, that's three fiddles running. You want to hear what two sounds like?
Heck yeah.
All right, we'll give a little bit of variety on. Let's see, I've got my numbers written down here. This will be the parts of 1, 3, 5, and this is also you can. I've got percentage on how much of the harmony part that you want. The other one was at 42%. It's more even that way. This is at 50%, which is completely even with the harmony parts. And this is a 1, 3, 5 parts. That's two fiddles. Let's go to 50%, 513. Now that's actually three fiddles running right there, and it's got the major bottom fifth on it, way bow. I want to show you something. How about one with all the with 12 piece orchestra? How about that?
Load it up.
I use this with Loretta Lynn because her best friend, I mentioned Patsy Cline. Her best friend was Patsy Cline, and we did Sweet Dreams in her show, and we copied it just like the way she had it on the record. And my intro to this was in key of it's in the key of A. My intro to this was just like the record. Sweet Dreams. Again. There it is, man. That's it. That's 12 pieces running.
Wow.
I'm not saying my machine is the best. I'm not saying my machine's better than anybody else's. I'm not downing what somebody else is using, but I'm very proud of what I've got. And I'm not giving it away. I'm just not going to do it. I'll just keep it for myself, and I'll use it and go from there.
Man, here's a guy I have not talked to in a little while. Bubba Wolford is here.
Who's that?
Bubba Wolford is here.
Oh yeah, Bubba.
So he's one of the nicest, most humble guys I've ever known to work with.
Yes, and a great sound guy.
Yeah, Bubba was one of the first sound guys I worked with when I came to Beaumont.
What a great person. I've always enjoyed being around Bubba, and Bubba's got his, I'm going to say this, Bubba's got his act together.
Well, I don't know. He was putting up with me for a while. He'd lowered his standards for a couple of years.
I don't believe that. You're a great player.
You know, when I first moved to Beaumont, I was a trumpet player. I'd actually put the violin down for several years, and I started working with Key West, the band that Bubba was running sound for, and I come in, and I'd never worked with a microphone or anything. I was used to playing in marching bands and stuff, and I was loud as hell. And we started playing, and Bubba said, well, he's going to stick a microphone in front of me. And I said, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? And he said, just don't point that thing at me.
That's Bubba. Bubba will tell you what's on his mind, which is a good thing, man. He knows if somebody listens to him, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he started teaching me about running sound. He's one of the first guys that I ever learned from, and I've been running sound ever since.
Yes, sir.
Well, cool, man. So tell us a little bit about Loretta Lynn and playing with her, man.
Loretta Lynn. I'll tell you how I got that job with Loretta. Again, working for Johnny Paycheck. Paycheck started getting pretty sick, and he had emphysema really, really bad. And I started working with the two twins, Patsy and Peggy, Loretta's daughters, and I'm needing work, So I started working with them, and their career didn't last real long, but they were still running with their mom as well. And while I was working for the Lynn, still trying to work for Johnny Paycheck, Ernie, Loretta's son, Ernest Ray, I was talking to him. I said, man, if y'all think y'all could maybe put me on full time, that would be great. Paycheck's just not working a whole lot. So they worked a deal out where I was going to be working with the Lynn's, Patsy and Peggy, and when they weren't working, I would work with Loretta. And it got to where the work came in less from the other ones, and Loretta put me on full time with her. And I tell you what, I'm not putting anybody on a bottom shelf, but what a royal act to be on the road with, which was Loretta Lynn. I was proud to be a coal miner.
Man, that's another legend. Man, some of these folks, big names.
Oh my gosh! So that's as far as working with Loretta Lynn. Yeah, that's no slouch name. That's for sure. And I enjoyed working with all the guys in the band. We had a great time, and I got to play the Opry probably more with her than I did with Johnny Paycheck.
Yeah, maybe tell some stories about playing at the Opry. I think a lot of people haven't been there, maybe only seen it on TV. Sort of give us an idea of what it's like to play there. And
yeah, I got a couple of stories. Let me tell you one of the first ones that really comes to mind. I was working, again, I told you I was working for Johnny Paycheck, which the gig started kind of falling off, and I started working with Loretta a little bit more. Well, it so happens this one night on the TV portion, I was working for Paycheck and Loretta. This one night on the TV portion, Loretta and Paycheck were both on the bill. So I went and asked both of them, do you think it's possible that I could work with both of y'all through the night? And Paycheck agreed to it. Loretta Lynn agreed to it. So you talk about a Jekyll and Hyde. as soon as I got ready and got through with doing the TV portion or the radio portion with Johnny Paycheck, I'd have to go change out of his clothes that he had me wearing on stage and go put a tuxedo on to work with Loretta Lynn. So that was a crazy night. You talk about sweating to death and running frantic, trying to make sure that I got everything straight and going to look at the time when the next one was going to be on so I could be ready. I got another funny one to tell you about. While I was working for Johnny Paycheck, another different time of playing the Opry, there's a drummer by the name of Johnny Barber who was with Paycheck back in the 70s. Well, him and I got hired at the same time, which Johnny Barber got hired back after so many years. So I'm in the green room talking to Grandpa Jones and Carol Lee and a few other ones there in the green room, just waiting for the next spot to go on. I think we had, I don't know, it was probably 45 minutes before we were to go on. And Johnny Barber's son walked into the green room with, everybody's got refreshments going on, and he taps me on the shoulder and says, "Hey man, are you still playing with my dad and John?" I said, "Well, yeah, why?" "Man, dude, y'all are on stage right now." I'm like, God, Matt, I jumped up, and all I could think, this building backstage was full of people. All I could think about doing, I had blinders on, was to get into the green room where my fiddles were and my machine, my harmonizer, and get into that Opry stage where I know my spot was as fast as I could get there. Man, I am sweating. I grabbed my fiddles. I think we were in room number 16, which was almost to the back of the Opry backstage. Man, I am running with my fiddles and my harmonizer, and I'm trying to get through people, and I'm hollering, "Hot coffee, hot coffee, hot coffee, let me through, please." I'm pushing people out of the way. I've got, again, nothing but blinders on. I hear music, so I know they've already started without me. I go to my spot. I plug my machine in, plug my fiddle in, turn the amp on, and I'm on stage, man. This is a TV portion, and I'm ready to go, man. I'm looking around. I've still got blinders on, so man, I'm okay. All right, what are we doing? I've got in my mind, what are we doing? I go to look around, man. I am on stage with John Conley. And I'm sitting here thinking about John Barber's son. I said, "My God, what did this kid do to me, man?" So Steve Slatcher, the guitar player with John Conley, I've known him for years. I'm standing right next to him. And he goes, "Hey, man, are you supposed to be out here with us?" And I said, "Man, I really don't know. I am sweat like you wouldn't believe." So when I entered the stage, they were playing Backside of 30, which was country, and it had Fiddle on it. So again, we get done with the song, and John Conley looks over at me, and he's on the TV portion and goes, "Folks, we have a special guest with us here tonight." Thinking, oh God, now he's got me in the spotlight. Walks over to me and, "David, glad you could join us out here." And I said, "I appreciate y'all having me out here." He said, "Well, what we'll do is you just stay right where you're at, and we're gonna play Rose-Colored Glasses, and we'll give you some feels." And they played it off like I was supposed to be out there. But that's probably the most embarrassed that I have ever been. One of my most memorable times of the Grand Ole Opry as something as being funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But Loretta Lynn, yeah, class act. I was proud to be there, and I was actually playing for her when I'd never experienced a birthday of the Grand Ole Opry before. And I was there for the 65th Grand Ole Opry. And I remember I couldn't get all of the Opry members for this big old birthday cake was coming out. And all the Opry members that were there was actually coming out of the wings to sing happy birthday. And I couldn't get my equipment off the stage quick enough. So uh, a couple of the Opry members, I said, man, I'm sorry, I'm out here. And Mel McDaniel stood next to me, and he said, don't you worry about that fiddle player. You just sit right here with me. It's fine. Don't go nowhere. If somebody wants to jump on you, I'll take the blame for it. And I never forgot that. That's two major memories for me at the Grand Ole Opry, besides playing with the legends that I work for.
Man, you got to be on that stage. You can't get off of it, can you? You jumping out there with bands you ain't even in.
I wish I could get back there again. I really do. I would love to have another chance, not just one more chance, but a lot of chances to play the Grand Ole Opry. That place means the absolute world to me because I've got so much memories there. I felt like it's been part of my home.
That's awesome. So I do want to talk a little bit about Chris Ledoux.
Sure.
Yes, you were touring with him all the way to the end for him, right?
Yes, sir. I worked with Chris for right at, I would say 4.5 years. Let me lead up to leaving Loretta Lynn. Loretta Lynn, she got a boyfriend and was working a little less. And a guy by the name of Mike Palmer, who is still drumming for Garth Brooks today, he called me and wanted to know if I was interested in going to work for Chris Ledoux. He said Chris has just got back from a liver transplant and doing well, and he's needing a utility player, mainstream, needing a fiddle player for sure. So at this time I was married and talked with my wife about it, and we both agreed, hey, we got to have money coming in. I was living in Murfreesboro, Tennessee at the time, and a guy by the name of Mark Sissel, the road manager and band leader, called me the next day and wanted me to send something in for them to look at, and it was TV portion stuff. And I did, and he called me back that evening when I overnighted the VHS tape to him. And the next day he called me that evening and said, hey, I've talked to Chris. You got the job if you want it. Gave me a price, and I started working with Chris. Chris was not based out of Nashville, Tennessee. The bus was based out of Salt Lake City, Utah, is where myself, the drummer KW Turnbow, and Mark Sissel flew out of Nashville to Salt Lake City to meet the bus. And Chris is another great boss that I worked for. Chris paid for all of our flights and made sure we got to the gig, made sure we got to the bus. And I'll say this, I've never been more scared to get on a stage with explosions before in my life than my first show ever working with Chris. He had they had a set list lined out and had these little bursts of fire where each song would have this concussions going off or gerbs going off or white flashes going off. And it's pretty nervous. I stayed in my same spot for about probably a month till I could really figure out exactly where I could be and learn the show without getting myself blown up.
And make sure you're not standing on one of them when it goes off.
Yeah, I mean we had fire in the show, and that's probably one of the best, I would say, closest to a rock show that I've ever been involved in. I loved working for Chris. And I'll say this to you, he was probably one of my favorite artists to work with. I was told by the band leader, look, if Chris likes what you're doing, he's never going to tell you nothing. And if he doesn't like what you're doing, he's going to let you know something. I never heard nothing from him, ever. It never told me anything ugly or disliked what I was playing or or nothing. He was a total class act to be around.
Yeah, those production meetings are important when they got pyro and stuff going on stage. You don't want to skip that meeting.
No, and it was a very serious situation. You needed to know where to be at certain times of the song, or you're gonna have problems. You're gonna lose your hearing, or you're gonna lose an arm or a leg, or get something burned off really, really bad.
Yeah, James Hetfield from Metallica was standing on top of one when it went off, and
Wow.
burned the crap out of his arm. He ended up finishing the tour. They had to have somebody else play guitar because his arm was all bandaged up. He couldn't play.
No, that's I was told that whenever I went on and went into a meeting with everybody. We got a new guy here, and I watched a lot of the players in the band that was letting me know when things were fixing to go off. Not only looking at the list, because we were all wireless. I mean,
Yeah.
it was basically a rock show.
Sure.
With Fiddle, and you definitely had to be paying attention and on your game when these effects. This pyro was going to be going off.
So this is before or after Garth did the song with Chris's name in it?
Way after.
Okay, because I know his career had been doing good, and then Garth mentioned him in a song, and it
took off right there. Chris Ledoux told me that him and his wife Peggy was in their Jeep running somewhere and listening to the radio, and they're talking amongst each other, and the radio's on, and Much Too Young's on, and I said he stopped both of them in their tracks and said, "Hey, he just mentioned my name in that song," and Chris found out, that he mentioned a worn-out tape of Chris Ledoux, and Chris was blown away. Of course, we all know that that's Garth's idol, Chris Ledoux was.
Sure.
And he learned about Chris, and they're like family.
Yeah, that was a nice thing to do, man. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, Chris's career exploded after that got mentioned in Much Too Young. He owed a lot to Garth. But let me say this: Chris was selling 8-track tapes out of the back of his truck doing all these rodeo during his rodeo days. So he was already on the map as it was. It just, when Garth mentioned his name and helped his career further along, it just exploded, and the sky was the limit.
Well, that's a whole different level once Garth Brooks gets involved.
Yeah, very much so.
Well, hey, man, we're running out of time here. It's been an honor to talk to you again. And I really enjoyed it, man.
I thank you for having me. I appreciate the world reaching out to all of us, and I hope I've done some good and not looking too bad here on your show. I hope I was pleasurable.
No, I'm just, it's an honor to talk to you, and thanks so much for going down to the museum. And if you guys are ever coming down I-10, if you're ever rolling down I-10 through Beaumont, Texas, let me tell you where Beaumont is. Hey, Todd Stark is here. What's up, man? Speaking of Beaumont, you ever rolling through Beaumont, you got to find you a good place to eat. You can holler at Todd Stark. But the Museum of the Gulf Coast is right there. And you guys, if you ever stop in to the museum there, you'd be amazed how much cool stuff has come out of Southeast Texas.
Hey, Matt, before we go, can I introduce you and let you see just a few little exhibits here on the museum, just for a few minutes here?
Of course.
I want to introduce Tom Neal, who is the director here at the museum, and just allow us to do a little bit of overtime. I want him to show you a few of the people that I'm inducted with here in the museum, if we can do that. Everyone, Tom Neal is the director here at the Museum of the Gulf Coast in Port Arthur, Texas. Tom, I'm going to let you take this.
Well, welcome to the Museum of the Gulf Coast. We can't give you all this, and there's over 80 artists in this collection, but if you'll come on through here, you'll see some of the renovation we're doing right now. A lot of great artists from this area. We kept saying it. John Fred, and you have Johnny Rivers, Phil Phillips, Percy Sledge, all these different great names, and Harry James, Dale and Grace. It's just an amazing. Tiny Moore, some of the great. Bob McDill's another big name in Nashville for as a songwriter. Clay Walker, a big bopper. We had a special tribute to him Mark Chestnut, Tracy Bird, Billy Joe Spears. Like they just said, there's a lot of people in the museum, and we're very proud of it. And yes, there is something in the water here in this part of the country. You come on through it, you'll see an area of the Big Bopper and Johnny Preston doing Running Bear. We've got some memorabilia from Big Bopper that was in his briefcase and pockets in the plane crash. Buffer bottle, cigarette lighter, dice, a lot of different things you can see. Barbara Lynn, Nyla Jean Boudoir, Johnny and Edgar Winter.
Absolutely.
Johnny and Edgar Winter from, of course, you knew them if you were down this area. If you come on around this way, you're starting to see some of Janis Joplin's car replica. People like to take pictures with this. Janis's family is friends with the museum, and they support us in what we're doing and telling you the story of her. She's very artistic. She's a great painter, and we have some of her memorabilia that you'll find here at the museum. Early pictures of the family. Her brother Michael and Laura Joplin are still here and helped. Michael was here in January for a book signing on the new book for Janis. Come here, you'll learn about. We have people come from all over the world to visit us. One other quick place to show you. Bill Hall, one of the greats in Nashville, a promoter, and he's recognized by the writers, the Nashville Writers Association Foundation. He was the second guy they awarded for support of these guys. Lee Hazelwood, these boots are made for walking. Huey Moe, producer. Huey produced Freddie Fender, Before the Next Teardrop Falls. Harry Schultz, Joe LeBlanc, Clifton Chenier, Archie Bell and the Drells, the Boogie Kings, Tiny Moore again, Blind Willie Johnson, who has his material on that Voyager spacecraft. I have video footage of Blind Willie when he was in the 1920s, 1930s, sitting on his porch, and that's have been launched with that Voyager system. UGK is here as well. Marcia Ball, Johnny Allen. These are just some of the people that make up the museum. We're adding some new 55-inch touchscreens so you can learn more and more about these various artists. It's just, we're overwhelmed. You know, we live here and we see this. It is pretty overwhelming when you see the different artists and different talents. Cookie and the Cupcakes, Matilda, one of the great songs. Becky Barksdale, we talked about with Michael Jackson on his Dangerous tour. Cookie and the Cupcakes, that song Matilda. They played that in every roller rink as we were kids growing up here. Come on, we'll take you real quick over to the Robert Rauschenberg Gallery. He just sold one of his paintings. He passed away recently. He sold his paintings for $88 million at auction. We have a Notable People Gallery. Gone with the Wind, Ellen Keyes. Just amazing, all the different people. Now you're in the sports area. We've got a ton of sports people here. That's little John Washington, who actually posed for that. He was out of Oklahoma. He was up for the Heisman Trophy 2 times. Mark Henry, the great weightlifter. Bubba Smith, who was in Police Academy with our own G.W. Bailey, who was a screening sergeant. G.W. was in Police Academy as well. He's in our Notable People Gallery. Bubba Tyler, from trainer from the career trainer for San Francisco football team. And then you come over here, you might recognize somebody, Jimmy Johnson, who's going to be inducted into the Football Hall of Fame this summer. We're very proud of Jimmy. And then you have Jamal Charles right over here, right over Jimmy's shoulder. Maeve Zaharias grew up here as a child. Tremendous female athlete, one of the greatest. She beat a lot of men in golf, and she made her point. Some good golfers here. Bruce Liskey, who passed away here just recently. Let me show you one other, some icons over this way. Bum and Wade Phillips. Bum coached at several high schools here. Wade graduated high school here, and they're just iconic for our area. And you see some of them. In fact, that is as you go down there, you will see a Super Bowl trophy that Wade gave to us for our exhibit. But classic and first class guys in the football realm. And we have basketball player Steven Jackson. Football, baseball. We have Olympians, horse jockeys, racers, car racers, motor cross racers. These are people that reach the pinnacle of their career, and that's what gets them in there. They have to have national acclaim. They have to have a #1 record. They have to have some kind of acclaim with this with the sports area. So David, come on back in here. I know. Probably ought to get a light here a little bit, but thank y'all for letting us show you a little bit of the museum of the Gulf Coast. We hope you'll come see us.
Matt, thank you for having me. These are some of the great exhibits here in the museum. The folks that I'm very, very proud to be.
David's a part of it.
Be inducted here with all these wonderful folks you just got to see. Thank you for allowing us to do this. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, man. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you guys soon. Stay safe and don't get the Rona.
Yes, sir. You got it.
I couldn't hardly